This session is peer support for farmers and ranchers with disabilities. And we are joined by Craig Davis from the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living. Just a few quick housekeeping things. You should be able to unmute your microphones. I believe I've enabled that for the participants. So if you want to verbally ask a question, you can unmute your microphone and ask the question. We also have a chat box that some of y'all have already answered in. That if you have any questions or comments, you can ask those there. You can also raise your hand if you think of something, and then we can unmute and discuss it. We do want this to kind of be an open conversation. If you have any questions or feedback, we are always welcome to that. So feel free to chime in, ask your questions. We will also have time at the end for questions. If you need closed captioning, there is on your Teams where you have this webinar pulled up, there should be an option. There's 3 dots that say more, and you should be able to choose closed captioning through there if you need that. So with that in mind, we will go ahead and get started. So today, we are going to be looking at what peer support is and how it's beneficial for individuals with disabilities, as well as ways to get connected to peer support groups and more information about the Texas Agribility peer group that we are launching. So that's just a little bit about what we're going to cover today. Our project, the Texas Agribility Project, is funded by the National Institute of Food and Agriculture at the USDA. It's a grant-funded project. There are agribility projects across the nation. And so if you maybe are not in Texas and are interested in what agribility provides, I would encourage you to go to the Agribility website and check out all of the initiatives that they have there. But we also have some project partners for our state level partnership, one of those being the AgriSafe Network, as well as the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living. And we are joined today by Craig Davis from BBSIL. So Texas Agribility provides services for individuals with disabilities, chronic health conditions, and functional limitations in agriculture. So at this time, I'll go ahead and kind of turn it over to Craig. So Craig Davis is the program manager with the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living. And he's going to kind of share about peer support, not necessarily just for farmers and ranchers with disabilities, but for individuals with disabilities in general. And he'll share a little bit about BBSIL and the work that they do related to peer support. But Craig is originally from Temple, Texas. He started working in the Independent Living Network in 2014 at the State Independent Living Council in Austin, where he worked as the executive assistant and later as a project coordinator with a special focus on accessibility. He started working for BBSIL in December of 2022 as a program manager, where he supervises and coordinates day-to-day management of the center's programs. So I will then turn it over to you, Craig.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie, and thank you for letting us present today. So what I'm going to do, let me see, let me line up real quick.
And I can see it, so you're good.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to go over today is kind of a brief overview of the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living, or BVSIL as we call it, and how we fit into that role with agribility. And I will go into kind of a peer support 101, and then kind of talk about, as we see from our level, like what makes a peer support successful. And then I'll open it up to questions. I started here in December of 2022, so I am still really new. So when you ask your questions, if they could just be questions I know, that would be amazing. So let me go ahead and get started with this. And so just a little bit about BBSIL. BBSIL is a community-based consumer or controlled cross-disability, cross-cultural non-residential, private nonprofit. We are a 501c3, and we are a charitable organization whose mission is to make people with disability, or to help people with disability to live as independently as they choose. And we were established in 2010 to address the state level priorities for providing independent living services to both unserved and underserved counties. We currently have uh, we currently have five counties that we are, yeah, five counties that we serve, which is Brazos, Burleson, uh, Madison, Robertson, and Washington. Oh, and another one. We recently also added Grimes County. So just a little bit about what a Center for Independent Living is. And again, they are run by people uh, with disabilities, for people with disabilities. Our staff and our boards are made up of a majority of people with disabilities. And again, it's cross-cultural, cross-disability, non-residential. Um, and I like to say that there are actually 27 CILs in the state of Texas. And the one thing we all have in common is we have a lot not in common, because each center actually serves, like, they provide services to the needs of the people they serve. And so, like, one example is in the Valley, there is a very large deaf and hard of hearing community. And so their center has more of a focus on that, where as here in Bryan College Station, we are more cross disability population. And so when people come to the centers, one of the things that we do is um, sit down with them and find out what their goals are. And once they meet those goals, they can come back and say again, like, um, I want a different goal now. Like, I learned about money management, but I need to make my living space more accessible. Or I need more independent living skills. So it can be intermittent, and it's from birth to death. But the one thing that all the centers do have in common is the five core, um, sorry, the the five core services that we offer, which is advocacy, independent living skills training, information and referrals, peer support, and transitional services. And so, to kind of get more into, let's see, next slide. So what is our role in agri-ability? So the Association of Programs for Rural Development Living, which we call APRIL, is the national partner for agri-ability. And we are a member of APRIL. And so we are the nonprofit partner for the state of Texas. And kind of to add to our role, what we do is we disseminate the program information to the SILS network and help them on the program, while also facilitating any requested um, referrals from agri-ability for a certain center. So that's kind of a very high level overview of our role in this program. So excuse me one second, just going to get this a little bit closer for me. So what is peer support? Well, peer support, and when I speak to peer support, I'm talking from mainly like the Centers for Independent Living. Many years ago, they found that the medical model for was not working for a lot of the communities for several different reasons. And so that's when the centers really started focusing on peer support, and it became one of our five main core um, services that we offer. And peer support basically is, it's a one-on-one and a small group support provided by someone who also has a disability. Peer support occurs when people provide knowledge, experience, emotional, social, or practical help to each other. Now, what they are not is they are not a professional counseling service, and their purpose and uh, is to facilitate individuals with disabilities in asserting control over their own personal circumstances and choices, and making sure that they're kind of reaching their own independent living goals. Peer support is like I said, is a core foundation of every SIL. And again, SILs have, both board of directors and staff that make up a majority of people with disabilities. So who are peer support mentors? Peer support mentors are individuals with disabilities who have already reached that goal of living independently. Not to say that they can't come back and have more goals, but they've already been able to reach their goals and are integrated and engaged in their community. They have a desire to help other people do the same. Peer support members are not, or nor should they try to be like medical professionals or therapists. They offer guidance through, like the maze of services. And some of the good things, that about mentors is, they've been there. Um, they're not, since they're not tied to a state agency or any type of professional service along that line, that they can be contacted outside of the 8 to 5, Monday through Friday um, times, and they can offer friendship and encouragement. Uh, a good mentor should be really eager to listen, and they have, since they have been there, they can offer a really great range of earned wisdom and are willing to confront bureaucracy, like to advocate for system change. I've seen a lot of mentors that actually serve on disability councils throughout the state of Texas. I actually worked, when I worked for the Texas State Independent Living Council, it was a governor appointed council. And so I got to see some of that mentorship like come to fruition. Who are mentees? Now, you'll notice there was a picture of a manatee on there just because every time I hear mentee or see the word, that's what my brain hears. So um, mentees are individuals with disability who want to work one-on-one with a mentor on their goals. Um, they have requested to participate in the program or the SIL or however, they're coming through to that. Um, and are really committed to being fully engaged and participating with that mentor, and want to work on achieving independent living goals with the help of a peer mentor. So what why or what reasons or how can you tell a peer support program is working? It is important to people with disabilities to have a positive identity, which peer mentors can foster. Um, we find that, like we have found that individuals with similar disabilities are more likely to understand and provide targeted assistance to each other um, than individuals who do not have the same shared experience. Not to say that your mentor and your mentee have to have the same type of disability, because one of the things that we've learned is, like there's not a one size fits all. Everybody has different experiences. Some people may have multiple disabilities. And so that partnership with, it really is, like I said, not a one size fits all. And even here at the BB we kind of go at like the whole peer support model a little bit differently because we are so cross disability oriented. We really try to, it really is kind of a lot of times a case by case basis where somebody comes in and says, I want to be a mentor. And then we're like, great. And so we try to, find that person that, needs a mentor, or the opposite, where someone like, I really need some extra help. And so we try to pair them up with someone that we think would be a good fit and is willing to do it. Um, and how do you know, like, a superior, like, peer support is working, is that the mentee becomes the mentor at some point. That's when you really know that that it's working. That we found that, especially throughout the state of Texas, because there are so many rural parts of Texas, that farmers and ranchers specifically, I mean, have different needs across the state, where some may need more um, accessible equipment, or even, like, they need to make their home itself more accessible. Um, so it really is a great thing when they can find that mentor that, like I said, that has been there and has that wisdom and the resources. And um, so I think that it's I'm excited for y'all, because I think it's going to be a really great thing for the state of Texas. And so this is just a map with the Centers for Independent Living that we have across the state. And so feel free, like, especially um, to contact your local CIL if you do have um, if you do have, a need that's not being met, that you're or an independent living goal that you would like to meet. And always feel free. You can always contact me, and I can help get you in the right place. So I know it's running a little short, but and there is my contact information if you ever need to reach out to me. And so from there, I'll open it up to questions or comments.
And feel free, you can utilize the chat for your questions, or you can also unmute yourself.
Yes, I have a question about the mentorship program. Do you keep lists, or how do we get in touch with someone who will be our mentor, and how do we eventually become mentors ourselves?
Well, I know Mackenzie's going to speak to specifically how that model is going to look for agriability. Um, for us, but I mean, it really, for BB like I said, it really is a case by case basis. And we have a less formal um, model of peer support. And again, and the reason that is because we don't want to duplicate others' peer support groups in our community. And so it becomes more of an information and referral when someone is looking for a peer support. If there's already one that we know is great and that we have worked with, um, we will definitely refer them over to that specific peer support group, because again, we don't want to duplicate services that are already working in our community.
And like he said, I'll touch on, we're kind of launching an agribility peer group that's really geared towards farmers and ranchers with disabilities, and what that would look like. I'm going to share a few slides about that in just a minute, and then if you have other questions about it, I will be happy to answer those too.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little late, so can you start all over again? No, just kidding.
Absolutely.
Are you gonna
I think it'll probably go better the second time. So yeah, I would welcome that.
I'm just trying to break the ice. Are you gonna be able to send that PowerPoint to me or to the attendees or the manatees?
We we can send you a meeting recording, but also I don't know, Craig, if you're okay sharing the PowerPoint, we can do that as well. But we'll have this recorded, and we'll send out a link to this video that you can share as well afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
and I
you.
don't mind if you want to, you can email me and I can, um, I'd be glad to send you the PowerPoint as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then Damon, did you have a question?
Hi, Mackenzie. This is Sine. I actually had a question for Craig. Craig, you mentioned that down in the valley you served blind and deaf population. What other disabilities do you service throughout the state of Texas or have you worked with? And most specifically, do you have anything available for mental health diagnoses such as schizophrenia?
We, well, we are cross disability. And so, anybody that comes into a SIL, and says, I have a disability, I mean, we don't require like any sort of medical documentation or anything like that. So it really is truly just cross disability. Um, like I said, it's all inclusive as far as disabilities. I was just saying, like in the Valley, they have a much larger deaf and hard of hearing population than other parts of the state. And other parts of the state, like I'm thinking around the Dallas area, it's people with more um, physical disabilities. And, so I know the centers there are always advocating to make the Dallas-Fort Worth region more accessible. But yeah, it really is just based on your population. And I mean, we're not going to turn anyone away that says, like I have a disability and I have these goals and I want to live more independently, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mhm.
Did we have any other questions? All right. So with that, and I can, Craig, if you want to drop your contact info in the chat too, and I can send that out to all the attendees and kind of the follow-up email where I put the meeting recording. But if you have any questions, you can also contact us here with Agribility if you are interested in, being referred to a SIL, learning more about the SILs in your area. They service different areas. So even if you're not in the Bryan College Station area or one of those 5 or 6 counties, your center may not be the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living, but there is a good chance that there is a center that serves your area. So we can explore what services they have available and potentially, refer you over to them for services. So feel free to reach out to us if any questions about that.
And you can also find more information about like specific SILs in your area from the Texas State Independent Living Council website, which is txsilc.org. And there is a page on there for the centers, and it'll show you like exactly where they are. And you can also download a list of the contact information and general information about the SILs themselves and what counties they serve. So you can like go in there and do a control F, put in your county and see what center serves your county. That makes sense.
So that's very helpful. Yeah, so if you're interested in some of those services he talked about with the Centers for Independent Living, I would encourage you to kind of explore what still serves your area and what services they provide. Because sometimes like he said, there's specific services that some SILs offer that are very unique to that SIL. So some of them have assisted technology loan programs and lots of other things. So I would encourage you, just to explore what those SILs offer around the state, and if it's something that you feel like you might benefit from. So with that, I'm going to try to share my screen again. All right. And then I will touch briefly on our new Texas Agribility peer group. So, like you said, we see the need for peer groups in connecting individuals with like-minded people that may have some sort of shared experience, so that they can benefit from the connection with each other. And with us being a statewide program, we're not in one specific county. It's sometimes difficult to get individuals connected with other individuals that are either like-minded or have similar interests. And so throughout, our time with these grants and these programs, we've seen a big need for a way to connect people with each other. And aside from just saying like, hey, I know a guy in your area or with a similar disability, do you mind, if I reach out to you or connect you guys? There hasn't been a really great way for us to facilitate those connections. So that's one reason we wanted to kind of establish this peer group, to have a way. We're just kind of the conduit to connect you guys to each other. And so the purpose of it is obviously connecting farmers and ranchers with disabilities with one another so that you could share resources, um, have highlights of assistive technology maybe that's been helpful on your farm or ranch, or just sharing experiences with accessing services like USDA services, or vocational rehab, or applying for grants, and how that works with your farm or ranch. And so that's kind of the focus of the peer group model that we're going to be kind of web based, like this call would be at first. We'll have calls with clients that are interested, and you can all join. We'll have like a topic of discussion for that session. It might be somebody sharing their experience accessing a certain program, or show and tell of their farmer ranch assistive technology, or some way they've navigated some sort of resource or something like that. But it'd be coming from somebody that is a farmer rancher and has a disability of some sort. But it's really geared to facilitate the connection with each other. So that's something that we're going to start. And I can't really see this graphic very well, but we're going to do the first session of that on March 1st. So in a few weeks, we will have our first peer group session, where we'll join virtually, kind of agree upon some standards of what we want the peer group to look like, and what that looks like. But also we'll have someone that will share for that session. So we want it to be worth your time. We want you to feel like you get something out of it. We're not going to just join the call and be on mute and hope that somebody speaks. We will have like a guest that will kind of share something for a few minutes that day, and then allow time for y'all to just discuss what, ask them questions, discuss things, share information. So that will be something that will start March 1st. I have a survey that I will send out with the kind of recap of this webinar, kind of gauging your interest in it, in the peer group, the time of day that would be best for you guys to join, what you feel like important topics would be to address in the peer group sessions, if in-person events would be something you might be interested in. And so if you're interested, please click on that survey link and leave your email so that I can make sure to add you to those first sessions. We'll also advertise it on our social media and stuff, but our website's currently down, so I don't want you to be interested in it and trying to find it later and can't find it very well. So if you see a survey link from me in your email, that's where I'm going to try to collect all of the individuals who are interested in joining that peer group. And then we also will have, we'll be developing a peer group map, or that's our goal. We have something similar with our Battleground to Breaking Ground program where even if you're not joining a session and you agree to be part of our peer group map, it would allow you to like kind of opt in to share some information about yourself, either, you know, that you have a disability, and if you are interested, maybe what, you know, what that is. That wouldn't be required by any means, but just generally your area or what, you know, something about your farm and where you're at so that people could then connect with others based on either somebody in their area physically or somebody that has a similar experience or disability to them. So even if you couldn't attend, you know, some of these peer calls and you were interested in joining that map, that will also be an option as well. So that's, you know, we haven't started it yet, but that's the goal for the group, and I'm sure it will take some molding whenever we kind of start doing those sessions. But I wanted to, you know, give us some time to discuss that and get you guys feedback if you would be interested. So with that, do you guys have any questions?
I have a quick comment.
Sure.
Just FYI, I really like the information you're putting out, but I have to go get off the phone. But I'm gonna look at that link that you guys sent. So I appreciate it and thank you for the work you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. Yes, I will definitely send those links in a follow-up email to all of you guys. So don't worry if you have to jump off a little early. Did anyone else have any other questions or comments? Feel free to put them in the chat too if you don't want to unmute yourself.
I noticed you mentioned Battleground to Breaking Ground, and I was a member also, and I just have to comment that you guys have a great program and outstanding assistance to veterans, and I'm glad that I'm in the Farmers Veterans Coalition, and that we get connected with you guys so that we can keep everything rolling, especially being a disabled vet and seeing some of the good things that you do, and also some of the classes. I don't know if you're going to have one this year at the rodeo, San Antonio Rodeo, but it's always been great to see those courses and get more insight and information. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I did want to touch on, obviously we're going to start a peer group for agribility clients and farmers and rangers with disabilities, but there's a lot of other peer group and peer support options that are available. There's the Military Veteran Peer Network. There's also peer support groups through the BV SILs or just the SILs in general. And then there's also support groups for caregivers of individuals with disabilities, as well as other types of disabilities. So like the Arthritis Alliance, they have peer groups. So if you're looking for, you know, to be a part of a peer group, and maybe this is not something that, you know, you're looking into, but you want to connect with other individuals that have traumatic brain injuries or something like that, there's a lot of other peer groups for different types of disability, different backgrounds. Like there's a lot of veteran peer groups as well. So I would encourage you to just check out other peer groups and, you know, to share things that you might have in common with other people navigating those services, that type of thing. So while we are starting this is not the only peer group that's available for individuals with disabilities. So there are other ones out there. Did anyone else have any questions? All right, so I do have a little survey, and I will go ahead and drop that survey link in the chat for where you can fill out if you're interested in joining the peer group. But I also have a couple poll questions for you guys. On today's webinar, we will hang out for a little bit. I know we're a little bit shorter on time than we thought we might be, but we'll hang out if you have any questions. And it doesn't have to be just about the peer group. It could be about agribility services in general, the Centers for Independent Living. But I do have a quick poll just to gauge, where you're coming from. And about the webinar and if it was helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. It may show up in your chat box or it'll pop up on the screen. So I'm going to share that now. Can y'all see that poll?
I'm on my iPhone, so I don't really see anything.
That's okay. And I'll send out a link to a survey. So if you're not able to access it, that is okay. So I'll give y'all a few minutes to answer that. I think there's 5 questions. Just gauging the satisfaction with the webinar and your understanding of these topics before and after the webinar today. Looks like a couple of people have responded. All right, so I'll go ahead and close that one. And then just another quick poll on kind of what your background is. If you're an individual with disability, veteran, beginning farmer rancher, from a disability support agency or other. So I'm going to launch that now as well. It might show up in your chat or it'll pop up on the screen there. And these are all anonymous. That's just to gauge kind of the attendance today. All right, so thank you guys for answering that. I'll go ahead and close the poll. So I also dropped in the chat if you're interested in joining that the agribility peer group. There's also some feedback questions to gauge what you think would be important to share and include in those peer group meetings. We kind of want this to be what's beneficial to our clientele and farmers and ranchers with disabilities. So that would be a great way to give us some feedback on what you feel like the needs are, what you think is important. There's places to leave comments and things like that. So that would be very helpful for us if you just fill that out and include your email address, and so that we can kind of compile you guys in a list to send out all the information for joining the March 1st peer meeting. So with that, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask those.
Keep up the good work, Mackenzie. I remember when you were just a rookie a long time ago, and now look at you. You're running the whole show.
Thank you. Um, and if you guys need to contact us about anything or have any further questions about the peer group, would like to share something at one of those peer group sessions, feel like you have some kind of wisdom or information that you like to share, please feel free to reach out to us. Our website is currently down. We're hoping to get that fixed pretty quickly. So if you try to go to our site and you can't access it, that's why, but that's my phone number and then our general email address that gets checked daily. So if you have any questions, I'll also include my email in the chat for you guys. If you have any questions or feedback or anything like that, I also want to thank Craig and the individuals from BB who joined us today in sharing that great information. And then I'll stay on for a few more minutes if you guys have any other questions or feedback. But thank you all for joining us, and thank you again, Craig, for presenting today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'll stay on for a few minutes if anyone has any further comments or questions.